If you have shoulder pain and you've been trying to dead hang in order to fix it, I want you to stop. Not because hanging is an inherently bad pattern. Actually, hanging is one of the best movement patterns that you can do for the body. But when your shoulder is already aggravated, a dead hang isn't treating the problem. It's actually making the situation worse. And I know this because a couple of years ago when my shoulder was in pain and I saw everybody doing these 30-day hanging challenges, I opted in. But rather than it healing my shoulder, it made the symptoms that I was experiencing even worse. What I didn't understand back then, and what most people don't seem to figure out, is that I didn't have a shoulder problem. I had a context problem. And once I understood what hanging represented for the shoulder and when to use which form, it changed everything for me, where I managed to resolve my shoulder issues, regain full mobility, and I'm able to work towards very high levels of pulling work with a one-arm chin-up, for example. So in this video, I'll break down why the dead hang is actually more of a shoulder aggravator when it's already in pain, and what happens if you swap it for a different hanging pattern that can reduce pain, regain functionality and full mobility, and have you work towards very high levels of pulling work. Now, to have you understand why a dead hang or a passive hang is often a misinformed approach to resolving your shoulder issue, you need to understand that shoulder pain can be contributed to one physiological issue. Whether you have an impingement, a labrum tear, or something else going on at the shoulder, the symptom is always a consequence of your body's and/or your shoulder's inability to deal with a certain demand that it is being exposed to, either acutely or chronically. It's the same as me moving my arm through space like this and feeling no pain, no restrictions, no irritations. This entire act of my upper limb, the bones, the tissues, and of course the nervous system are basically telling me that I have the capacity to perform this pattern, exploring all the ranges of motion in a coordinated fashion in relation to space. Now, let's say I pick up a weight of 5 kilograms and I would do something similar, but in this case, I feel a strong sensation occur at the rear part of my delt, and when I move through here, I feel a stronger sensation on the anterior front part of my delt. Then the body is telling me that in this position or in these ranges of motion, it has less capacity to deal with the demand, which is the added weight on top of the movement pattern that is performing it in relation to space. And these potential sensations that I feel are a reaction to that difficulty. So most of the time, pain itself is less of a priority versus understanding where we lack the capacity to execute a movement task. Now, if I were to draw this out for our painful shoulder in relation to hanging, we can establish that a dead hang or a passive hang consists of two parts where our capacity can be too low to deal with the demand that can actually aggravate your shoulder pain even more. One, with a dead hang, the two shoulders are positioned in a maximal flexed position, which is the range of motion. And two, those shoulders and supportive structures are being stretched due to the weight of the upper and lower body that is being pulled down by gravity. And if you have been following this channel for a while, you know that stretching into ranges of motion that you can't control is not the best strategy to get you out of a painful or restricted situation. Because if you expose your body into areas of your range of motion that you currently can't control, the brain will step in, it will send powerful signals, aka pain, to prevent you from potential harm. So in case of bringing your shoulder into shoulder flexion, you can see that there is only a specific region that the body feels safe in because it has enough capacity to deal with the demand. However, the brain and the nervous system respond differently when we stimulate our tissues to become stronger and therefore progressively make them more equipped with the demand that we would like to put on them. And the more we can do this in a flexed position of the shoulder, we can gradually build towards a dead hang over time. And the most simplest way to do this is to just build strength, or more specifically, building strength from shoulder flexion to partial shoulder extension, which you might better know as a vertical pull. Because here's what a vertical pull actually does. Because a vertical pull allows us to build strength at the different regions of this entire range of motion so that we automatically eventually end up in this full flex position, but we have the strength to tolerate the demand to do so. Now, our main job is to look at the different ranges of motion that we can access and match our current capacity with a proper stimulus or a proper demand. so that the tissues can grow and the brain and the nervous system feel safe and allow you to explore more shoulder flexion over time. Now, the most logical line of thought is that we use a lot of isometrics or use a lot of tools to provide this stimulus, right? Wrong. There is a much easier way that doesn't rely on a lot of external assisters or a lot of volume and a lot of different exercises. And that is by using the legs. Since the legs are free, we can pour as much or as little weight on them during the vertical pull from flexion to extension in the ranges that we can access. And it also enables us to stimulate our tissues at their max capacity so that we don't have to use a lot of volume in order to increase our capacity for newer demands. So they act both as a safety net, but also as difficulty manipulators for reaching our max capacity for growth. And just to be clear, you not only learn how to eliminate your shoulder pain and access a dead hang position without any discomfort, you'll also learn how to stimulate your maximum capacity of your tissues in the most effective and time-efficient way I've come across. So pay close attention. Now let's see how this is gonna play out. But before we do, I made a quick mobility assessment where you can self-analyze 6 various positions, including a shoulder flex position that helps you know what positions require most of your attention to start reducing restrictions or pains. All to give you clarity and help you to be very time efficient and effective to improve functional movement and mobility. It comes with a breakdown per pattern and the exercise to combat it with clear instructions. You can download it in the link below for free. First, let's explore the most safe and easiest option so we always have a fallback mechanism in place. We do this by exploring the range of motion of flexion of your shoulder without hanging, which you can access without pain. So stand up upright, tuck the pelvis a little bit in by squeezing the glutes, and then bring your shoulder overhead until the moment of discomfort or when you feel a sensation of pain emerge. Do it on both sides. It doesn't matter how much range you currently have, as long as we know our starting point. Once you have established what that range for you is currently, you then move to the bar or rings. And I like rings more because you can pronate a supinate the wrist and eventually work towards a full one-arm chin-up. I'll discuss how to in a second. Now, once you're in position, you then lower with all of your weight on your legs until you feel discomfort emerge around the shoulder in a flexed position. You then move from your current flexed range all the way up until the hands reach the chest. And you want to have a supporting object in front of you so you can use it to reach that extended position where your hand reaches the chest. In this case, using most of your weight on your legs. It's all about getting acquainted with the pattern. Now, once you're in the top position, you then lower until you're back at the starting position, again with all of the weight on the legs. Now you know how to perform this pattern in a safe way within the range of motion of shoulder flexion that you can access. Next is very important, where it's time to increase the intensity per part of the repetition so you're actually stimulating growth on the tissues in the vertical pull. So you're gonna start in a similar position, only this time around, when you're ready, you want to reduce the amount of weight on the legs until you feel the need to resist dropping. When that sensation emerges, you want to pull up by first retracting and depressing your scaps. Think of it as trying to have the shoulder blades giving themselves a little kiss. And you do this while reducing the amount of weight as much as you can. You then keep moving the arms from that flex position all the way to the chest, where the shoulder transitions from flexion to extension, with as little weight on the feet as possible during the entire rep. So you should be experiencing a lot of intensity, and that is exactly the point. And once you reach the top, you want to leverage the downward portion even more by decreasing the weight further, which you can still tolerate. I reduce the amount of weight until I feel I have to fight not falling. And you keep doing this until you're back in the starting position. You take a sec and then you go again. All while maximizing the stimulus, every part of the range you can access, while maximally engaging the muscles and connective tissue that help with the pulling. Now, this might scare you a bit, but the option I recommend for all the people that I work with is to immediately start with a one-arm chin-up applying this principle. And the reason why is because it, one, automatically exposes any weaknesses around the tissues and structures of the shoulder in this pulling motion. Two, it's extremely hard, which means you have endless room for growth to increase your capacity for more demands, which is how we get out of pain or restrictions. And three, you only need to do a couple of repetitions per week to stimulate growth to happen and get crazy strong. And the good part is that you don't have to change a single thing about this approach. The only thing that is different is the amount of weight that you pour in the legs. That's it. So if we take a look here, we can see I'm starting in a position with the arm partially flexed. I'm assisting myself slightly with the other arm, and I'm pulling all the way up until the hand touches the chest with as little weight on the legs as possible. Then I'm going down, following the same trajectory but reducing weight on the legs. And I aim to perform around 2 to 4 reps of these with maximal intensity in the ranges I can access, fighting for every inch, stimulating as much growth as possible. And the good news, the rest of the week, I do nothing. I just rest and recover and rely on this insanely intelligent healing mechanism of the body. And again, you can use a couple of fingertips on the under ring or a bar if you use it for additional support, like I demonstrated. But as soon as you can do it so that you just have more energy on the other arm when you use that for pulling. And of course, every week, every session, you want to expand or try to expand the range from flexion to extension over which you can produce force and control. And you will see that your shoulder pain over time will decrease because you have a higher capacity, which means that eventually you can end up hanging without pain and becoming much stronger as well. All right, so hopefully this video listed out how you can reduce or eliminate your shoulder pain by simply swapping a dead hang for a vertical pull in a safe and progressive and an extremely time effective way that can be scaled until you unlock elite levels of strength. Now, if you have shoulder pain and you want to explore the options of potentially having a custom roadmap made for you to get you out of the situation, you can apply to the program in the link below. For the rest, I hope that helped. Make sure to subscribe and also leave a comment in the link below if you want another topic to be explored. And for the rest, see you next time.